This is Mo, the first to go from monkey to human, and then a god. He spent 3 million years hunting, evolving and growing massive until he became immortal. The guy was so strong that just by stomping the ground, the entire planet shook. Demons on the other side of the world could feel the impact. His only problem now is that he's bored out of his mind with nothing to do, so he decided to bounce to another world. His assistant Dragonling even tried to stop him from leaving everything behind. But this guy is unstoppable, so he just ignored the magic and bailed out of his own world. Meanwhile on Earth, a kid spent his whole life watching another world harem. The kid goes crazy thinking he's gonna get summoned and jumps off a building. Result, the dude dies like an idiot. Lucky for him, Mo Xiaobei chose his body, and that's how the kid finally makes it to another world. The kid thought he was gonna find a harem, but what he found was a giant dragon. Mu finally arrives on the tiny Earth inside the kid's body. The chosen kid is Li Ho, a 17-year-old who killed himself, so he wakes up already in rough shape. The first thing he does is head back to base. While going through Li's memories to figure out what life he just walked into, Mu finds out the kid was poor, alone, and getting bullied by some school thug. Instead of feeling sorry for him, he gets hyped because he found someone to punch. When he tests out the arms, the pain almost knocks him out, and this maniac was thrilled because he finally felt something. The next day, Moose goes to Li's school, and the first thing he does is hunt down the bully to throw hands. When he takes a punch to the face, he goes crazy with joy. The moment Mu hits back, his own arm completely shatters. That's when he realizes this body is way weaker than his original. Knowing he can't use the muscles in his arms, his legs, or even magic, he decides to use his hardest bone, the skull. And just like that, he knocks the bully out with his head. The whole class films the scene in shock. Nobody expected Li Ho to floor the upperclassmen who terrorized everyone. The protagonist crouches down, bites the bully's ear, and spits it out. Back in his world, that was a sign of respect, but on Earth, that's just straight up cannibalism. The teacher drags Mu to the principal's office and loses it, nearly smacking him with a binder. But when he sees Mu totally hyped, dying to take the hit, the old man backs off and calls his parents. Mu gets sent home early without even understanding the rules, but figures he just needs to go back to base and train. The weird part is that on Earth there's no mana, but since this maniac is a god, he's the only one on the planet who can use magic. When he gets home, he lies down to relax. Then he jumps back into his own world to check how things are going without him. Right away he sees Li Ho choking Young. The kid wanted to escape to another planet and use the dragon to take over the world, but Mu grabbed him with a floating hand and dragged him all the way to Lucifer, the number 2 god. Lucifer was minding his own business, taking care of his world, when Mu just barges in out of nowhere, saying he's about to dump the kid in his dimension. Lucifer tried to shut the idea down, but Mu made it clear he wasn't asking for permission, and if he didn't like it, he could try to stop him. The guy literally tore open Elmer's world and threw Li right into that new dimension. The moment that Psycho Mu walked out, Lucifer was furious about the invasion, but since he'd already gotten wrecked by him before, he stayed quiet and did nothing. Back on planet Earth, the bully who got beat up by the protagonist woke up with so much rage that he called a professional fighter friend to destroy Mu. The moment Mu gets back into his body on Earth, he wakes up in a hospital, weak with zero energy. Since the kid hadn't eaten anything, the body just passed out from hunger, and Li's friend came to the rescue. Right then he started interrogating the girl to learn everything about Earth. Once discharged, he went straight to train to fix up this noodle arm body. The guy was kind of lost because in his world he trained by carrying rocks, but on Earth training works differently. Out of nowhere, a rock hits him in the back. It's the bully again, this time bringing his cousin Guaquetl. Mu picks up the same rock from the ground and drives a punch straight into the kid's already broken nose. The guy barely left the hospital, and he's already going back on a stretcher. Mu turns to Guac with that psycho smile. Meanwhile, in the divine realm, it was time for the gods' regular meeting, but MC didn't come. His only assistant, Yang, nervously tries to deliver his message, but Lucifer cuts him off, glaring and demanding why an assistant thinks he can speak first at a god's meeting. Panicking, Yang explains he's only there to read a letter, not to disrespect anyone, then forces himself to continue. As always, Mu's message is simple. Tell him if anyone finds a worthy opponent, that's it. Lucifer slams the table. As the second strongest god, he's sick of the protagonist doing whatever he wants, skipping meetings, and ignoring everyone. Lucifer isn't the only one who feels that way. Most of the gods agree, but stay quiet. He says these meetings exist to keep their world stable and safe. Then, the Archer god, the third strongest, agrees that if anything unusual happened, they'd deal with it the way they always do. Lucifer slams the table again and yells that Mu treats everything like a game and is pushing their worlds toward disaster. Worse, when MC does step in, he only makes things worse. To prove it, Lucifer turns to the Cyclops god, ranked 9th, and asks if he remembers what he did 1,000 years ago when his planet was about to be destroyed. A giant void creature, as large as the world itself, had begun tearing it apart. Then something blasted through it and split it to pieces. Mu, grinning, face flushed, happy to fight, killed it instantly. Lucifer says the damage after that was the protagonist's fault, and that if he'd worked with the other gods instead of rushing in alone, there wouldn't have been casualties. Lucifer says they can't keep letting someone unworthy of godhood gamble with their worlds. Elsewhere, Yong stays silent. He can't defend Mu, so he just hopes his lord returns before things get even worse. Back on Earth, the beaten bully starts up again, warning MC that his boxer cousin will make him regret this. The cousin is curious. He saw his speed and asks if he trains in sports or martial arts. The protagonist brushes it off and says no, he just likes to fight. That makes Ha Young dismiss him as an arrogant little middle school punk. Ha Young takes his stance and says he's ready. Then he decides to move first, rushing in to test whether Mu is all mouth, and lands a clean opening shot to MC's face. The punch connects, but something about him feels wrong. As a boxer, Ha Young immediately notices how strange it is that Mu never moved. He clearly saw the punch coming, but the protagonist always takes the first hit. That's how he starts a fight. With that creepy grin, MC asks, "Hand-to-hand combat is your thing?" Ha Young hesitates. Then Mu copies his stance and charges in. Ha Young thinks it's just a dumb imitation, blocks the punch, and still gets shoved backward. He can't believe this skinny kid hits that hard, while Mu only gets more excited. Right before the blow landed, he tensed his arm with everything he had. It feels like his arm is ripping apart, but he doesn't care. Pain just makes it more fun. In his god form, his old enemies couldn't even make him feel that. He pulls off his belt and wraps his fist to protect his hand, since this body heals slowly. The bully nearby calls it unfair, but neither Mu nor Ha Young cares. Ha Young rushes in again. He unleashes a quick left-right combo, throwing punches non-stop to overwhelm him. While guarding, Mu studies the pattern and sees it's fast and sharp, but easy to read. The protagonist starts dodging with no trouble. Ha Young tries to change it up, but MC does more than block. He punches Ha Young's arm in the middle of a swing. It takes a moment for Ha Young to realize what happened, then he starts screaming. Mu watches, amused, realizing Ha Young and that kid from Lee's class really are related. They're both way too dramatic. He doesn't wait around. He follows with another fast punch and drops Ha Young cold, while the cousin can only stare in shock. Mu lights up like he wants another round and says it's time they paid for all the trouble, since this isn't the first time they've messed with him. The bully who acted tough before knows it's over once Ha Young falls. The protagonist walks over to finish it. Up close, he sees the guy is too scared to fight back, and beating someone like that means nothing. The bully catches that small pause and hopes that acting terrified and saying he doesn't want trouble might save him, but it's already too late. Before he can get the words out, Mu throws a quick punch to the face. Then he goes all in, hammering him with hit after hit as the guy's face and body swell up. Mu ends it with a savage knee to the face and finally feels satisfied. He even praises him for never giving up, despite never really having a chance. With both of them down, MC leaves, after putting his mark on the boxer too. The bully lies there mumbling Mu's name and calling him a crazy bastard. He heads home feeling good. He's been getting fights almost every day. Still, this weak body keeps giving him trouble. To keep that thrill going, he decides to go back to the God Realm and collect what he told Yang to prepare. But this time, nothing happens. Mu just sits there, waiting. A few days earlier, in Lucifer's domain, the protagonist kept brushing Lucifer off and coming and going as he pleased, without realizing he was driving Lucifer to the edge. On the way back, Yang asked how Earth was. Mu said he loved it, but his human body was weak, then told his assistant to find a recovery orb so his Earth body could heal faster. There was one problem. Magic items are common on Elmer and some of Lucifer's other worlds because those places have lots of mana. On Earth, they only appear through divine blessings or pure luck, so they're incredibly rare. Only a handful of people in history ever used them, and humans treated those people like gods. Even so, Yang promised to have the recovery orb ready next time Mu returned to the God Realm. When they arrived, Yang reminded MC about the gods' meeting, and he casually pulled something from his pocket, saying he'd prepared it because of all the complaints. It was just a small letter. We already know what it said. After handing it over, Mu walked to the tiny Earth model and placed his hand on it to return to Lee. Neither of them noticed a small demon spying from above and reporting everything to the protagonist's greatest enemy. Back in the present, Lucifer puts it together. He doesn't know MC's full plan, but he's sure the MC's body is empty, and skipping the meeting means Mu won't be in the God Realm for some time. Then it hits him. This is his chance, a once-in-a-thousand-years shot at revenge, and he takes it. Without a word, Lucifer casts life taxidermy to remove the only thing standing between him and him. Purple lightning shaped like spears forms above Yang, but he reacts instantly, leaping back and avoiding every strike in a flash, his expression turning deadly serious. Ready to fight, Yang demands an answer. What is this, Lucifer? Are you really declaring war on Mu, the god of Earth? Lucifer, sure the protagonist isn't here to stop him, rises up and says he'll personally strip MC of his divinity. He means it exactly how it sounds. This is an official war declaration. Yang doesn't hesitate. He compresses his fire breath into a narrow beam and fires it straight at Lucifer. Lucifer avoids it with ease. The blast tears across the realm and explodes on the far side with massive force. The archer god raises a protective aura to shield the other gods at the meeting. Lucifer doesn't even flinch. Seeing his first attack failed, Yang uses his ultimate polymorph release. His body expands and transforms. He's going all out to protect his master. The archer god sighs and decides she's leaving. This place is no longer fit for a proper divine meeting. As she starts to go, Lucifer calls after her and asks which side she's on. She keeps moving and answers that she's neutral, neither with Mu nor Lucifer. Lucifer says that's fine as long as she doesn't interfere. Then he asks the other gods if anyone objects to him being expelled. None of them answer. Yang, still alive, warns that Lucifer is no match for God the protagonist. Lucifer only smirks and says he knows Mu isn't here. He's living in a weak human body on Earth. That shocks Yang. He thought he was the only one who knew, and now it all makes sense why Lucifer chose to rebel. With nothing left, Yang makes one last surprise attack, swinging his tail at Lucifer, but Lucifer slips away and cuts the tail to pieces. He doesn't kill him though. If Mu's assistant stays alive, he can be used to track MC down on Earth in that human body and finally settle every humiliation. Lucifer laughs while Yang coughs blood and trembles, helpless. Back on Earth, Yang is covered in bruises and getting yelled at by his coach for fighting in the street. He's forced into a long recovery right before his big matches, and only then gets sent away. As he leaves, he blames Lee for everything just as Kang walks in. Kang sees his condition and asks what happened. Yang can't admit he got destroyed by some random skinny-looking guy, and since Kang is one of the best boxers in the country, he puts on his best act and lies. He says he stepped in to save his brother from bullies, and they jumped him together. Kang walks past without much reaction, says this is his own fault, and tells him to be more careful, especially with matches coming up. Then he leaves, before stopping when Kang calls out. By the way, Kang actually believes him and asks who did this. Meanwhile, Mu is still trying to figure out why he can't return to his real body. The only answer would be that his original body is badly damaged, but that feels wrong. Yang is guarding it, and hurting Mu's true body shouldn't be easy. Then another thought hits him. What if the gods teamed up and attacked? He jumps up. If that's true, he has to act now. But he has no idea how, and that only makes him madder, furious at the idea of those gods using cheap tricks because they won't face him head on. His pillows take the beating, and in his head he swears he'll turn them all into stew if he gets the chance. Then he forces himself to calm down. He reminds himself Yang isn't easy to bring down, even against a group. If he can't help his real body right now, he'll strengthen this one instead. So he goes back to training and works his abs for the first time. They burn like crazy, and somehow that only makes him enjoy it more. People nearby stare, pretty sure he's lost his mind. In the middle of his workout, someone suddenly calls his name, and he slips, crashing hard to the floor. It's the class president, annoyed because he hasn't been to school in days. They sit on a bench, and Mu just shrugs and asks why he'd go to school when he can't train there. She asks why he trains so much, and he says it's to get stronger. Then she asks why he wants that, and he grins, so he can fight better and face stronger opponents. From there, he rambles for hours about training and battle, while she listens and quietly decides he's insane. Then she tries a different angle. What's the point of getting stronger if there's nobody to fight? Just go to school, meet people, start trouble. You'll find plenty of opponents. She leaves, and Mu has to admit she made sense. After what he did to those bullies, they won't come near him. For the first time, he actually thinks about going back to school. Right then, a masked guy appears behind him and calls his name. Mu doesn't answer. He already knows what this means. He turns, relieved, already ready for the first hit. Earth really is the best, he says. Back when Kang was 15 and starting to make a name in boxing, his sister was a ballerina. Kang supported her however he could. Everything was normal until some creep started stalking Kang's sister, and his obsession kept getting worse. Then one night, he followed her into an alley and tried to make his move. Kang was close by and dropped him with a surprise punch before he could do anything. Since Kang stopped it before a real crime happened, there wasn't enough proof, so the guy got released. With no solid evidence, the stalker walked free. He came back even angrier, and Kang stepped in again to stop him, but this time he was too late. Kang's sister's leg was badly hurt, and her ballet dream ended there. Kang blamed the law for failing her and stopped trusting it. After that, he spent his nights as a vigilante. Whenever he saw a shady gang or someone who looked ready to cause trouble, he stepped in. To him, it wasn't pointless violence. It was justice. Back in the present, Mu took Kang's first punch without fighting back, but he could tell Kang held back. He didn't care. That was all the signal he needed to start. Kang tries to question the protagonist, but the protagonist has no interest in explaining anything. He shuts him down and tells him to stop talking and fight, which only makes Kang madder. MC keeps a tight guard like an expert. Kang fires off punch after punch, but he dodges everyone. Then Kang uses a boxer's trick, throwing a light shot to block Mu's view before a hard follow-up, but the protagonist reads it and blocks that too. That's when Kang realizes this isn't some random loudmouth. Mu really can fight. Kang starts testing MC's weak points, then finds an opening and drives a punch into his side. Pulling back, he says he's aiming for the injuries on purpose, because judgment has no mercy. Mu laughs through the pain. That only makes Kang even angrier. The protagonist knows Kang is on a whole different level, and in Lee's body, he can't win. Still, he refuses to stop. He can't waste a chance like this to fight. He remembers one of the few times he was nearly overwhelmed. Even then, he had no regrets. He wanted to win, so he forced himself to calm down, shut off his feelings, and read every move. Back then, Mu landed a few solid hits on a giant monster, but they barely mattered. He knew he was outmatched, stayed calm, and kept searching for an opening. That's what kept him alive. He lost and barely escaped, but he still enjoyed the thrill of surviving by a hair. So first, he tried going completely blank-faced. That dead look on his already ugly face annoyed Kang. It felt like Mu was mocking him, and that sent Kang over the edge. He rushed in to finish it, with MC backing away and dodging until he hit a tree. Mu kicked up dirt, but Kang had protective glasses on. If anything, it only made Kang more sure he was some criminal who needed to be put down. Even with that goofy face, Mu avoids every punch. Kang tries to slip behind him for a blindside hit and only grazes the protagonist's chin, but the protagonist doesn't care. His plan is working, and Kang isn't as sharp as before. Mu noticed the big difference between fights in the old world and fights now. Kang was far more aggressive, not careful and defensive like fighters back then. MC figured the ground was the key. In the past, people had to watch their footing on rough terrain, but better shoes let modern fighters charge harder, which is why he threw the dirt, not to hit Kang's face, but to spread grit and tiny rocks under his feet. He wants Kang charging in until he steps on the mess Mu scattered. And it works. Kang plants his foot on a small rock, loses focus, and leaves an opening. He bursts in, aiming for a vital spot, but mid-air he realizes his arm won't move after all those blocks, so he switches and slams in a hard elbow instead. Mu can't resist and starts mocking him, laughing that Kang missed. But while he's running his mouth, Kang swings his weapon and crushes the protagonist's leg, dropping him to his knees. Kang decides he'll make Mu unable to laugh ever again. Right before the next blow, MC knows he's lost. He shuts his eyes and braces himself, wondering if after nearly 4,000 years, he's really about to taste defeat again. Then something suddenly flies in and smacks Kang in the face. He looks around for who did it, then hears a voice calling for Master and getting closer. Kang can't risk being seen, so he throws on his sweatshirt, pulls up the hood, and runs before anyone arrives. After he disappears, a tiny lizard-like creature comes out and calls again. Mu turns and sees it. The little monster is calling to him, and he recognizes it. Lucifer stole his godly body and locked it inside an unbreakable barrier so Mu's soul couldn't return. But there was one problem. He couldn't just enter Earth and finish things himself. The only way was to make Yang reveal how to reach the protagonist's planet. Lucifer promised that if he helped him get to Earth and kill MC, he'd make the dragon Earth's new god. Yang answers so quietly, Lucifer can't hear. Annoyed, Lucifer tells him to speak up. Then Yang points at the barrier around Mu's body and asks if it can block attacks too. Thinking Yang wants to save him, Lucifer brags that nothing can break through, calls it perfect, and tells him to give up and join him. Then the whole place starts glowing brighter. Lucifer turns and sees Yang covered in energy as he shouts that he's going to self-destruct. Before Lucifer can react, the castle explodes apart. The blast is so massive it scorches an entire side of the god's realm. Yang used everything in that one attack, shrank to his weakest form, and ran. The only safe place left was back with his master on Earth. But Lucifer wasn't letting him escape. He burst out of the dust in a rage and chased after him. Before Yang could get away, Lucifer summoned a magic spear and threw it with all his power. It barely missed, and Yang jumped onto the miniature Earth, popping out in Earth's sky. By pure luck, he landed right on Kang's face. That's all he could remember. After hearing the story, Mu went quiet, but not because he was sad. He was furious at Lucifer, swearing that if he ever got his real body back, Lucifer wouldn't live another second. Then that anger turned into excitement. He might finally get to fight Lucifer again. Mu jumped out of bed full of energy, but he knew this body couldn't beat him. His only choice was to train harder and make Lee's body stronger. The problem was, Lee's body was so damaged that even a light punch into the air made it feel like everything was breaking. Then the protagonist remembered something. He had told Yang to find a magic orb before, so he turned and asked if he got it. To Mu's surprise, Yang said yes, then slowly coughed it up at MC's request. He explained it was a dragon bloodstone with a one-time healing spell and apologized for only bringing one. He took it, thanked Yang, and said that was more than enough for now. He used it right away, and his injuries started healing at once. But that wasn't even the best part. Mu realized the orb wasn't only healing him. His muscles felt sharper, faster to react. almost extra sensitive in action. Yang proudly admits he improved it by adding his own magic to the dragon bloodstone. Mu thanks him, then notices a piece of the orb was still left, figuring not all its power got used on a weak human body. He hands it to the little lizard and says he can keep it. Yang says he'll save it for the protagonist in an emergency and carefully stores it back in his stomach pocket. Then we cut to a yellow lizard, the favorite pet of the girl from earlier. She treats it like a close friend and even wishes it could talk so they'd never get bored. After putting it back, she heads to school. The bully Mu beat before now sits quietly in glasses, unable to focus on class. Getting crushed by MC seems to have changed him. Instead of causing trouble, he's studying for exams. Then he walks in like usual and asks if he wants another round. Before the guy can reply, the class president shows up behind him, shocked that Mu actually came back after missing so many days. The protagonist says he only came because she convinced him, then adds that really, he's here to find someone to fight and beat. The way he says it makes her worry what he's planning, so she just tells him good luck choosing peace today. Downstairs, Kang talks with a girl from his class about what's been going on. She tells him about the second-year student who got humiliated and starts giving the details. According to her, he beat his bully so badly, the guy passed out and ended up in the hospital, and even ripped off his ear. After that, people started calling him neutralization. Kang listens closely. After school, as they leave, she keeps going on about the victim's injuries, the missing ear, and how Mu acted strangely that day. That finally makes Kang realize the nerd she's talking about is Lee. But since it's already over, he decides to leave it alone for now. On the way home, he unknowingly ends up on the same route as MC. Mu is irritated because the day was a complete letdown. Everyone stayed buried in notebooks and phones. No fights. Nothing. Then he spots Kang walking with that girl. Because Kang wore glasses and a mask yesterday, he doesn't know him at first, but the shape of his muscles sets off alarms. In an instant, he's sure and shouts that it's the guy from yesterday. The yell makes Kang turn. He sees Mu charging at him with a crazy look, so he runs. He takes off fast, leaving the girl behind. Kang can't believe the protagonist recognized him even with glasses and a mask. Still, he can't get caught and risk this lunatic reporting him. Kang cuts into a side alley, and Mu follows, but by the time he turns the corner, Kang is gone. Yang pops out of MC's shirt and asks if that was the same person. Wanting to help find the rude human, he offers to track him by the strong smell he caught when Kang hit him yesterday. Mu tells him to do it. Yang gets to work, but then someone steps right in front of him, nearly crushing him. He looks up. It's the class president from Lee's class. She stares wide-eyed, then breaks into a blushing smile, completely charmed at first sight. Yang has no idea who she is, and tells her to move so he can keep tracking, but she ignores him and scoops him up. He squirms and snaps at her not to touch him, wishing he still had just a little magic to get loose. To Yang, she's just a pain, but she's amazed a lizard can talk and thinks he's adorable. The second he gets a chance, he jumps free and hides behind Mu. Then he apologizes for messing up because of her, blaming his lost powers. The girl walks up, suddenly serious, and asks if that tiny creature is his friend. He shrugs, close enough, and very obedient. She introduces herself as Kim Yujin. It's obvious she's jealous that Mu has a talking, well-behaved little pet. He can see it, even if he doesn't get why. So the protagonist offers Yang to her and says she can borrow him for a while if she gives him some information. Kim lights up. A little info is an easy trade. Mu doesn't even wait. He grabs Yang by the neck and hands him over, saying she can keep him for now if she helps find someone. He casually tosses the little guy over, and Yang is shocked his lord would sell him out so fast. MC starts to leave, telling him to stay with Kim for now and come back later on his own. Yang quickly asks where he's going, and Mu says he's heading to the Sansujang at Kim's house. Yang goes quiet for a second. Then he sighs, introduces himself, and offers a tiny handshake. Trying to sound formal, he says that by his master's order, they'll be working together now. Kim is caught off guard, but the way this tiny lizard talks makes her heart flutter. She asks if his master means Lee. Then she agrees to help, and adds with a grin that she's the president of her class. Yang asks what that means. Kim explains she's basically the class leader, and she's ranked first in the grade. Now he gets why his master chose her. She must be strong. Then he asks, wait, so Lord Lee isn't your class leader? Kim thinks for a moment and says Lee isn't even average. Honestly, he's near the bottom at everything. Yang goes stiff in shock. Flustered and sweating, he blurts out that can't be right. He insists his master is the strongest being alive, greater than any god, then puffs up and tells her to do everything she can to make him even stronger. Kim takes it as cute loyalty and says she'll help, as long as he visits her often. Yang already planned to use Kim for information about Earth, so he agrees right away. They make a deal, and as a loyal servant he's ready to do anything to help his master reclaim the title of strongest. Meanwhile, Mu trains his newly stronger body until sunset, When he lands, he checks himself and feels satisfied. He recovered faster than expected, and his strength has gone up a lot. To test it, he throws a punch at an iron rod, and this time he's pleased. For the first time, his hand doesn't hurt. He smiles, but then it fades. He came out hoping to run into Kang. Since that didn't happen, he decides to head back, thinking school is his best chance to find him soon. Mu reeks from all the sweat, and luckily, nobody is close enough to notice. But by the time he reaches Kim's neighborhood, the smell is strong enough for Yang Yang to catch. The little lizard is at Kim's PC, then his dragon sense kicks in. He knows that smell. He hops down, waves, yells that they're done for today, and races out over rooftops and walls, following the trail straight to Mu. He lands on his shoulder, and he looks surprised. Yang Yang proudly says he finished what he thought was his mission, and even found a royal assistant who pledged loyalty to the protagonist. He's so excited the protagonist doesn't notice what's happening nearby. Then Yang Yang catches the scent of someone he chased earlier and points him out. He's right, it's Kang, hiding in the shadows like Batman. The bike thief doesn't apologize. Instead, he threatens Kang, saying he'll send people after him unless he's let go. That only confirms Kang chose the right target, so he presses harder, until a sudden danger sense makes him turn. The whole scene goes tense, except for Yang Yang, who's facing the wrong way and insisting they should be going toward a restaurant. Mu ignores him and keeps his eyes on Kang. They stare each other down. MC looks locked in. Kang still seems unsure. He steps forward, slow and steady. Kang tries to say it's a misunderstanding and begs him not to attack, but Mu is already ready to swing. Kang accepts that he'll have to fight back. He beat the protagonist once before, and now he hesitates because he knows MC isn't really the kind of guy he thought he was. Then nothing happens. Mu had only faked the first move to lure Kang into attacking first, but Kang didn't fall for it. The thief who'd been watching takes that chance and grabs Kang's weapon. He rushes him, but Kang slips away at the last second, turning and stepping clear. Then he sees the weapon flying straight at him. He takes the hit. He could have dodged or blocked, but he doesn't, and that tells him all he needs to know. The protagonist attacks back at once, driving a hard kick into the thief's stomach and knocking the weapon into the air, then catching it before it hits the ground. He's not done. Mu keeps beating him down, sometimes with Kang's weapon, until the thief drops. The grin on MC's face quickly disappears. These easy beatdowns aren't fun. There's no challenge. Against Lee's bully and Haiyang, those were real battles. So he decides the only opponent worth chasing is Kang, not this ugly loser. He looks around, but Kang is gone. A moment earlier, Kang had already run off, wondering how Mu keeps tracking him down. At the same time, he didn't notice Yang Yang across the street and accidentally kicked the little guy while running away, sending him flying. Later, Kang gets home. He kicks off his shoes and can't stop thinking about Mu's crazy face, always looking for a fight. Then his sister walks in, teasing him by shouting that the prosecutor has arrived. Kang Huna changed careers after the stalker case and now goes after cruel criminals. Same goal as Kang, just a different path. She brushes past him, joking about blocking a great prosecutor's way. Annoyed, Kang warns her not to make him use his powers. Huna goes to change, then tells him to make ramen for both of them. Kang remembers the day she got hurt. Now whenever he throws a punch, all he feels is anger. But it wasn't always like that. When he first started boxing, he actually enjoyed it. The next day, while everyone heads to school, Mu goes too. No bag, no books, just Kang's weapon in hand and Yang Yang on his shoulder. The little guy looks awful, muttering apologies for last night, but he doesn't care. Students stare as they pass, even Lee's old bully. Then Kim Yoo-jin, the class president, spots them right away. She brightens at seeing Yang Yang, but Mu reminds her she still owes him a favor for borrowing the talking lizard. She says she heard about someone matching his description, a bully hunter who beats up anyone acting like a bully. The protagonist is a little disappointed and wanted more, but figures he'll run into the guy again, and next time, he won't let him escape. Meanwhile, Kang is already there, sneaking up from behind. He steps in close and whispers, "Stay in your seat after class. I'll come get you." Then he takes his weapon and keeps walking. Mu didn't expect to see him this soon. Just hearing Kang's voice excites him, so he lets him leave without saying a word. Watching this, Kim wonders if MC and Kang are friends, or if something else is going on. She asks, but he only keeps staring after Kang and answers with one line, "Bully hunter." From then until class ends, the protagonist keeps that eager look. He tells himself he can wait for a real fight, but his right leg won't stop shaking. An endless earthquake that Yang Yang has to suffer through all day. Once school is over and the room clears out, Mu goes straight to the class president and hands poor Yang Yang over. He tells Kim Yoo-jin he has something important to do. She happily takes the little lizard and heads out. Then a hand rises from the other side of the room. It's Kang. And finally, the moment Mu was waiting for. Kang comes in, shuts the door, and calmly reaches into his backpack, pulling out training gloves and putting them on. MC is slightly confused, wondering if Kang is about to pull the same trick he used with the belt. After putting on the second glove, Kang looks at him and asks if he really likes fighting. Mu says no. What he likes is getting hit. The pain and shock of a punch landing. He likes the burn in his muscles when he pushes past his limit. And after more than 3 million years, made him feel alive. As he thinks about it, Mu's face twists into an eager, creepy grin, and Kang pauses, thinking this guy might really be insane. Still, he lets it go, opens his bag again, takes out another pair of gloves, and tosses them over. Mu lets them smack him in the face, then catches them before they fall. Kang puts his bag aside and tells him to wear them, saying he wants this fair. He can't take the fight seriously if his opponent isn't even a thug. The protagonist puts the gloves on, rushes in, and throws the first punch. Kang blocks and slips it, a little annoyed that Mu didn't even let him finish talking. Still, he came here to fight, so he drops it. After they trade punches and blocks, both step back. Kang uses the break to reset, telling himself to stay loose and focus on control, not just power. Mu charges in again. This time Kang is ready. He blocks cleanly and fires back, cracking MC on the jaw twice. The feel of it surprises him. The power and accuracy are good, so he repeats the motion, testing it on him. Loosen the muscles, turn through the body, send it through the fist. Kang puts his whole body into it, driving the force right through his fist. Now he's fully locked in, ready to teach the protagonist a painful lesson in boxing. The protagonist likes that too. Instead of pulling back, he gets even more thrilled. This is what he came for. On the third floor, a red-haired boy is asleep during night study when his body suddenly starts shaking, and he jolts awake, confused for a second. Then he notices a rude note on his desk mocking him for sleeping in class. He doesn't care who wrote it, checks the time on his phone, and decides to leave. He grabs his bag and heads for the stairs. When he reaches the second floor, he notices two silhouettes fighting. It's still Mu and Kang. MC's trapped on defense, so he quickly lifts his leg and plants his foot on Kang's chest, stopping him and throwing him off. As Kang stumbles, he swings a kick at his face. Kang barely gets his guard up and snaps, asking why Mu is kicking in a boxing match. The protagonist just smirks. What boxing? Before Kang can say more, MC rushes in with another kick, asking who said they had to use only fists. The blow slams into Kang and knocks him back. For a second, he's shaken. He's a boxer, not used to kicks. So Mu keeps pressing and lands hit after hit. Kang can't believe someone who looks so frail kicks this hard. Then he changes targets and aims for a low vital spot. Kang freezes. If that lands, he's finished. Mu's kick connects, but nothing happens. The protagonist hops back with a smug look, like he held back on purpose. But the truth is, he went all out, and Yang Yang's boost had already worn off. The second Mu realizes that. He panics. Without it, he can't beat Kang. Kang, still stunned, notices something changed. MC isn't the type to go easy, so why stop there? Then Kang smirks and asks if he just ran out of strength. He assumes the protagonist is simply tired. The protagonist keeps a straight face like that's wrong, but Kang is already laughing. MC looks cornered, unsure how to keep the fight going. Behind the classroom door, the red-haired boy has been watching. The awkward fight and Kang's weird laughing make it feel like a joke, so he loses interest and walks off, calling it disgusting. Mu decides to defend for now, and Kang sees his chance. He rushes in to press the advantage, aiming for an opening he left exposed. Mu's knee can't stop it. One strike spins him around and gives Kang a clear shot. A heavy punch crashes into the protagonist's head and sends him flying back. MC hits the wall and slumps down, realizing something. With this body, he can't match Kang's solid build. Then one desperate idea comes to him. If he can pull out even a little of his old mana, he could overpower Kang. It isn't reliable, but it's all he's got. He forces himself up and tries to gather even the smallest bit of magic into his fist. Then he lunges, but Kang catches the punch with ease and gives him a smug look. Then Kang suddenly feels something strange and glances behind him. Mu doesn't waste that opening and slams a punch into his face. Kang grabs his other hand to stop him, but that strange feeling hits again. He looks back, and Mu uses the chance once more, this time with his most dependable weapon, his head. The headbutt blasts Kang backward into the classroom door, and he drops. The protagonist stands over him, wondering if his mana idea actually worked or if he imagined it. After a moment, he realizes he condensed air instead because there is no mana on Earth. Even though that's interesting, he is more focused on what he wants to do next. He leans in, ready to go for the ear trick he's used before, when Kang suddenly wakes up, saving his ear for another day. Kang shoves Mu back and stumbles to his feet, still dizzy. He admits he underestimated MC and says he lost, but he's not giving up an ear. It seems like he wants to say more, but with his nose hurting and his head spinning, he can barely talk, so he mumbles an excuse and bolts. Watching him leave, Mu is disappointed. Kang won't be joining his collection today. A little later, at Kim Yujin's place, Yang Yang is getting ready to leave with a bag twice his size, already sweating. On the way home, he spots Kang in the distance, stumbling around and holding his injured face. He knows him right away. the guy who kicked him earlier for no reason. So Yang drops the bag and charges, going for a headbutt like his master. But even dazed, Kang notices him at the last second and swats the poor lizard out of the air. For a moment, Kang just stands there confused, not even sure what hit him, then wonders what kind of dog attacked and heads home to rest. As soon as Kang is gone, Mu walks up to Yang's flattened body and looks down at him. The next morning, he heads to school again, now wearing a new uniform, with Yang riding in a new backpack. The little guy had carried the clothes in his own bag and asks how Mu likes them. He proudly says Kim Yoo-jin, his so-called subordinate, bought both the uniform and the backpack for the protagonist, and says he'll stay hidden for now so he doesn't draw attention. Across the street, Kang sees MC and asks why he's wearing a school uniform on a Saturday. He just asks what Saturday is, and Kang gets a little annoyed before changing the subject and bringing up what he meant to say yesterday. He asks again if the protagonist likes fighting. The protagonist gives the same answer. He fights because he has to. Kang doesn't really believe that after yesterday. The grin on MC's face said plenty, but he lets it go and asks him to start hanging out with him, saying it might stop him from chasing random fights all the time. The second Mu hears that, he starts trembling, and that creepy, excited smile comes back. Kang doesn't need an answer. It's obvious. Then the protagonist blurts out, "Take me somewhere I can fight right now." Kang tells him that's not what he meant. He meant later. From inside the bag, Yang watches quietly, already plotting how to get revenge on Kang for beating him twice. Friday morning, at Jayarogi High, not MC's school, a student stands guard outside the restroom, keeping everyone out. Inside, a big guy asks another student how much money he made. It turns out to be the same thief Mu beat up before. Shaking, the kid pulls out some cash and says it was only 20,000 won. The big guy Yangjo blows up, saying that's nowhere near what he wanted. The thief argues Kang got in the way and he could have made more by selling the bike. The moment Yangjo hears Kang's name, he loses it, punches the wall, and orders the guy to call everyone. Saturday evening, Mu and Kang walk together. Kang thanks him and admits he used to fight in pure anger. After meeting him, he realized fighting could actually be fun. He tells him to fight him now instead of wasting time beating random weak guys. Kang says he won't do that now, but promises they'll have a fair rematch soon. While Kang talks, Mu notices smoke in the distance. Kang smells it too. Cigarettes, and a lot of them. The smoke is thick, so Kang puts on his mask and glasses, guessing their first target is ahead. They move in without hesitation, using the haze to get close unseen. Two guys are out front, with more deeper in the alley. One of the guards spots Kang, assumes he's just a passerby, and tells him to hand over his wallet. That's enough for Kang. He knows he found the right people, so he punches the guy in the face. The other thug recognizes him as the bully hunter and yells a warning. More men pour out from the alley, and Kang realizes there are at least 5 more. He calls the protagonist over, and the protagonist is already set with his sweater over his head to hide his face. Kang charges first and tells MC to follow, but MC's the same as always. He won't start until someone hits him first. The thug Kang punched grabs Mu's leg and asks if he's with Kang. That's enough for him. He counts it and jumps in. A few minutes later, every thug is down. The protagonist is annoyed by how weak they were, even judging their terrible lungs. Then Kang notices a small bag, picks it up, and returns it to the victim, a red-haired girl from his school that he likes. Before he can say anything else, more guys show up. The gang got a message from one thug who managed to report spotting Kang, and now they're here to punish him for messing with their so-called business. Kang decides it's time to get serious and pulls out his weapon. Mu's face shifts to pure excitement the second he realizes the fight isn't over. Now the real fun is about to start. A full brawl, his favorite kind. Mu tears through the group, dropping them one by one until a huge slap cracks across his face. It's Yangjo, and that single hit sends MC to the ground. Then Yangjo asks why there are 2 Kangs. Near the fight, the red-haired boy happens to pass by, mumbling about nobody answering his calls. He hears the commotion, looks over, and sees the brawl. That same disgust hits him. He can't believe people waste so much time fighting. He's about to leave when he notices the girl cornered, with Kang standing in front of her to protect her. His name is Heejin, and his dad was an MMA champion, the strongest person Heejin knew, and the one he looked up to most. But later, his dad started taking drugs to get stronger, and it was like he lost his mind. He became violent, not just in the ring, but at home too. Their mom finally ran away, but she left the kids behind. Even knowing he might not last, Heejin had to protect his sister. So he watched his dad's fights, trained in secret, and kept growing. Once he finally reached his dad's size, the day came. He stood up for himself and his sister and fought back because he thought they might die. His dad screamed that he was ungrateful and swore he'd kill Heejin and his little sister. Hearing that, Heejin in that mix of fear and rage, Heejin killed his father. The court called it murder, but they also looked at what he'd been through. He spent a year in juvenile detention. Even then, Heejin kept going to school. He also worked to support himself and his sister, so staying healthy mattered more than anything. That's why watching Mu and Kang jump into reckless fights always made him sick. Heejun would never live like that, but now his little sister Dalgan is trapped, and that leaves him only one choice. Fight, because he only does it when his or his sister's life is on the line. Yeonjo was still stuck on one thing. Why were there two Kangs? So he never noticed Heejun coming up behind him. Out of nowhere, Heejun strikes a weak point and drops Yeonjo to his knees. Then he grabs his head and slams him into the ground, taking the big guy out. Yeongyang keeps shouting for his master to wake up, but Heejun just steps on him and rushes past to reach his sister. Poor Yeongyang never does much, yet still gets beaten up. Kang watches Heejun tear through the bullies like they're nothing. Before the last two can react, Heejun grabs them and smashes them into the walls. Then he stops in front of Kang, glaring as he says they've gone too far. Kang hurriedly starts explaining, but Daljin calls for her brother, and Kang freezes, shocked she even has one. Before he can think, Heejun moves. Kang reacts just in time and counters, but Heejun slips past and only shoves him back. He grabs Dalgan's hand and tells her to run. The two take off, and she drops her wallet without noticing. As they flee, Yeongyang blocks the alley, furious, and demands to know who Heejun is. He even asks if this bastard is the third Kang. Heejun gets ready to force his way through, but before he can, Mu gets back up and punches Yeongyang in the face. Heejun wonders who that was, but more importantly, he uses the chance to get his sister out. While he laughs, Kang yells at him for showing his face. At the same time, Yeonjo struggles up and looks around for where that second hit came from, only to see them already escaping. Later, Kang drew Yeonjo and explained who he was to Mu, plus what they should do next. According to Kang, Yeonjo was one of the 3 most feared delinquents around. Together, they were called Godari, the top bully from each school. Kang adds that they only started making trouble recently. From what he saw, Yeonjo seemed like the key one, which is why he acted like the leader earlier. Mu still looks confused and asks what Kang is even talking about. Kang fires back, asking if the protagonist has a brain at all. That finally brings Yang Yang out of hiding. He snaps at Kang for daring to insult Godmu like that. Kang just stares, shocked that a frog is talking. MC introduces Yang Yang as his assistant, or maybe his friend. Now Kang gets even more suspicious. He doesn't know basic stuff, and now he has a walking, talking frog. Mu is actually impressed Kang figured out he isn't human. They talk over each other. Kang asks if he's an alien. The protagonist says he's a god. Kang says he looks more like an idiot, and MC immediately asks what an alien is. All of this is happening in President Kim's house. She's annoyed at first, until she sees Yang Yang playing with her phone. Kang keeps it simple. Their target is the big guy who slapped Mu down before he could even hit back, and just remembering it makes Kang mad. Now the protagonist understands who they're after, and he's excited. It was his first real taste of a weight difference in a long time. The idea of fighting someone like that fires him up, but he knows this body isn't enough. Kang agrees, says Mu gets tired too fast and tells him to train at his gym. MC says no, he needs something tougher and more wild. Then Yang Yang, still messing with Kim's phone, finds something. An underground arena with an undefeated fighter who drops people in seconds. The streamer says anyone brave enough to challenge gets a shot at 1 million won. Mu and Kang watch closely, and Kang realizes that fighter is part of Goteri. That alone is enough for him. He makes his plan. Use this as training, beat Yeonjo, then take down Goteri one by one. Meanwhile, in the Divine Realm, a huge magic attack crashes into Earth's domain. Lucifer is throwing everything he has at Earth's barrier to get to Mu. When the dust clears, he stares. The tiny Earth doesn't even have a scratch. That only makes him angrier, because Mu broke the barrier around Lucifer's own planet with ease. Yeonjo is just as furious. He kicks and punches a bathroom door, while someone inside wonders if it really can't wait. Yeonjo finally comes out, still mad he got neither money nor Kang. Then the same short guy from before tries to cheer him up by showing him Dalgan's dropped wallet. Yeonjo snatches it, shakes it, and only a few coins fall out, making him think she's mocking him. Then her student ID drops too. He picks it up and grins, realizing he can use it. The next morning, Mu and Yeongyang head out, with Yeongyang guiding the way. They're making their way through the streets toward the arena. Then Yeongyang lets out a fart, and a guy nearby with his ugly dog keeps jogging beside them until the smell hits the dog's nose. It snaps, charges at Yeongyang, and bites him right in the butt before backing off. The dog calms down. Yeongyang is left hurting, and they separate while glaring at each other. Yeongyang calls the mutt a low creature and swears he'll get revenge once his magic returns. The girl from the stream is checking applicants, approving some and turning others away. When Mu steps up, she notices his school uniform right away and asks if she guessed the school right. Before the protagonist can answer, Yeongyang whispers for him to just say yes. Then she asks what kind of fighting experience he has that would qualify him for the arena. Mu doesn't get it, so she lists examples: boxing, wrestling, martial arts, even street fights. He starts counting, with Yeongyang helping, then blurts out that he has about 3 million years of experience. The people in line laugh, but the girl likes the answer and lets him through. Then she asks for the 50,000 won entry fee. Yong pulls out cash, money he stole after abusing Kim's trust. The problem is, they're 4,000 won short. As Mu starts to walk away, something catches his eye. A big person in a green hat and jacket is leaning nearby, and MC studies the build. The muscles are real, clearly someone who trains. He can't see the face yet, but thinks this may be the Gotari fighter Kang mentioned. A few minutes later, just before things start, Mu realizes it isn't a guy at all. It's a girl, or at least someone who looks like one. The streamer kicks things off by introducing the undefeated champion with 13 straight wins. He immediately steps into the center like it's a simple one-on-one. Usually he waits for the other side to strike first, but not this time. He thinks standing there means the fight is on. Before he can move, the host rushes over and stops him. She pulls out a paper and tells him there are rules. This isn't some street fight, it's a tournament, and he can't just jump the champion. So Mu backs off and goes with it. Sometime later, it's finally his turn. His opponent is the same guy whose dog attacked Yang earlier. The host introduces the protagonist as the self-proclaimed fighter with 3 million years of experience, then presents the other guy as a Chinese martial arts master. From a distance, Yang looks around while hearing people place bets. Then non-stop barking grabs his attention. The dog looks familiar, and he realizes it's the one that bit him on the way here. Furious, he leaps out of the bag high enough to make people look up, then lands near Mu. MC asks what's going on, but Yang ignores him and locks onto the dog. He challenges it to a fight in the arena. And somehow the dog understands, charging through the crowd into the middle. Its owner can only ask Cerberus how it got its leash undone. The host loves it and announces a rare double match, master and pet fighting as a team. She hypes up Mu and the Chinese fighter again, then adds the lizard versus the Chinese mad dog. People start wondering what kind of lizard has horns and wings. Then the match begins. The Chinese fighter says he'll use an old animal-style technique that no bare-handed person can handle. He shapes his fingers like claws, warns Mu not to look down on him, and rushes in. He doesn't move at first. The guy charges in, yelling about his tiger-style finger strike. But Mu moves first and drives a punch into his stomach. The fighter crashes down and realizes he was the one doing the underestimating. The protagonist questions the whole style, saying humans can only copy animals so far. The boy pushes himself up, hurt, and realizes Mu is like hitting a concrete wall. MC wonders what the guy is even trying to do. Meanwhile, most people are watching Yang and the dog. Yang is already worn out, trying to find a way to deal with it. Close combat isn't his strong point, and the dog keeps rushing him without a break. Just before it reaches Yang, the Chihuahua suddenly stops and pulls a ninja-like fake-out, almost like a rhythm echo. The crowd is shocked, especially the streamer girl who jokes that maybe this dog came from the Zoldyck family. Now Yang sees 3 dogs right in front of him. He picks the middle one, but the real dog was on the left. It slips in and bites Yang on the neck. At the same time, the owner drops low on all fours and shoots forward, but Mu stays calm. People laugh at the strange move, and even his master appears like a spirit, tears in his eyes, remembering how he warned him never to use that move on people, especially in public. Mu tries to read the attack since it's coming from so low. Then the guy jumps in with a tiger paw strike, and he is a step too late. The boy scrapes Mu's face, and the protagonist realizes real claws would have killed him. The kid keeps coming, mixing animal moves together. 1 second he's like a cat, then he bites Mu's leg like a chihuahua, then throws a horse-like back kick at his face. MC has never fought someone who uses his body like this, so he can't read the pattern. Still, that only makes him more excited. Then he notices Cerberus beside him, ready to rush Yang again, and it hits him. If this guy is copying 4-legged animals, then he should share their weak spot too. The Chinese fighter charges again, but Mu suddenly drops to one knee, loads power into his legs, and blasts straight upward. He jumps so high the guy loses sight of him, and the crowd goes wild. By the time the martial artist looks up to guard, Mu comes down, plants a foot on his head, and slams his face into the ground. He found the answer to someone who fights on all fours, attack from above. Some cheer, others groan over the money they lost betting on the Chinese fighter. Mu looks over to check on his assistant and sees the Chihuahua already won. He glares at the dog, and it instantly drops over, playing dead. The announcer declares the protagonist the winner, with the ugly dog team forfeiting. Mu moves in to leave his mark on the opponent, but Yang, barely hanging on, stops him and says that's against the rules. MC lets it go and the announcer pushes the event forward. Now it's time for match 6. Mu's next opponent is Yang, the same guy he wrecked before, still marked on his arm and ear. Facing him again while still injured is the last thing Yang wants, but he steps up anyway. Mu, on the other hand, looks thrilled for the rematch. Yang tells himself he'll be fine as long as he doesn't let his guard down this time, and the announcer starts the fight. The question is simple: who can stop the undefeated champion? They both come out swinging, but Mu is the one surprised. Pain shoots through his hand, while Hae-young looks fine and even a little relieved to finally give some pain back. The protagonist steadies himself and leans into the pain. It proves he's alive. That's exactly why he came to Earth, and the twisted look on his face makes Hae-young flinch. Hae-young changes tactics, peppering Mu with quick jabs to set up a heavy kick. He thinks MC sees him as only a boxer, so the kick should catch him off guard. But Mu reads it from the way his muscles tighten. He rushes in and smashes the guy's knee, just like Kang did to him, then follows with the finishing hit, copying what he learned from that fight with Kang. Ignoring Yang-yang's warning, Mu tears off another piece of Hae-young's ear, and no one in the crowd stops him. After that, things settle down for the final match. The girl with the 13-win streak. He is fired up. 3 fights in one day feels like a gift to him. Before the announcer can even finish, Mu rushes in. His opponent fires a long kick at his face. It catches him off guard, but he blocks in time. The protagonist quickly sees how fast she is, and the fight keeps rolling. She throws kick after kick, forcing him to dodge and block with no chance to get close. By controlling the distance, she gives Mu a hard time. He knows anyone from Goteri is tough, tougher than expected, so he starts thinking, even with that goofy face on. He wonders how he's supposed to beat someone with reach like hers. MC jumps in to close the gap, but she kicks him in the face before he gets there. He switches plans at once and whips a kick at her head, but his leg is just a little too short. The spin kick only knocks off her hat, leaving her unharmed but surprised. Mu backs up, and the height gap is obvious. She decides to get serious, rushes in faster, and slams a kick at him. He blocks with both hands, but she instantly throws another. Mu is in trouble, and then he notices all her attacks aim high. Right before the next kick lands, he vanishes, leaving her searching for him. When she finds him, she's even more shocked. Mu is down on all fours, copying the Chinese fighter's style from earlier. He decides this is his best shot against the tall girl, and it works. She's clearly not used to fighting someone that low. Mu lunges in like a dog. She tries the same face kick, but now her form is off. The crowd starts cheering as this new style pays off. The Chinese fighter is stunned Mu copied his style after one match, even though he trained 5 years. He and his master can only watch as the same crowd that mocked it is now cheering for it, and his master even blushes. Back in the fight, the protagonist keeps dodging, then decides to circle around her fast. She senses an attack coming from her blind spot, spins, and throws a kick. It lands, but only on her own hat, while Mu appears on her other side. In the next instant, he's right in front of her, ready to use his heavy behemoth imitation fist. Mu was originally from Earth, but about 3,000 years before becoming its god, he was forced to live on Lucifer's chosen planet, a world full of mana. The animals there had turned into monsters, and MC survived by hunting and eating them. One monster stood above the rest, a behemoth, far bigger and stronger than anything else he'd faced. Mu's plan is simple: shift his muscles to match that beast as closely as possible, then strike. The tall girl is caught off guard and can only watch as he slams into her. The hit is so fast and hard it blasts her back into a bench and table. She struggles to breathe, pain stabbing her side, but Mu doesn't stop. He jumps after her, attacking with both hands, when the announcer suddenly cuts in and stops him. She declares the match over. The tall girl was knocked out of the ring. On stream, she announces Mu beat the 13-win champion. The crowd is annoyed by the dull ending. He didn't even get to finish her. The host wraps up the broadcast, sounding pleased, then tells the protagonist to follow her for his 1,000 Xiaozhorn prize. Later, she leads him into a quiet alley, talking as they walk. She explains he's only earned the right to challenge the final opponent, because one fighter is still left. Then, without warning, she spins, jumps, and drives her knee into his chest. Mu had his hands in his pockets, so he drops on the spot, stunned. The hit was way too much for his current body. Then she reveals who she is, one of Goteri's top 3, Kim Chung-gu. MC isn't really surprised. He already felt Chung-gu tense up and knew an ambush was coming, but chose not to dodge because he wanted another fight. He just didn't expect her to hit that hard. The blow leaves him unable to move, and all he can do is watch her walk off. The tall girl has been waiting nearby to support her. When she sees Chung-gu, she looks ashamed and keeps apologizing for slipping up. Chung-gu tells her it's fine, tells her to hurry, and they leave. Mu can barely crawl toward the street, and in a weak voice he says not to go, that he can still fight. He calls for Yang-yang and the healing orb so he can chase them, but Yang-yang isn't there. Then it cuts to Lee's bully, running hard with something hidden under his shirt, sweating and freaking out over how bad things got. A few days earlier, Hayoung showed him a gambling site online. He played a few games hoping to make some easy money, then lost 5 million won from his mom's account. Scared of what his parents would do, he decides the only answer is to win it all back. He heard about a place that gives students loans if they bring collateral, but the man at the counter just looks annoyed and asks what the hell this is. The bully catches his breath and unwraps the shirt, revealing Yang-yang, unable to speak. He pulls up a picture of a tuatara, a rare lizard from New Zealand, and tries to pass Yang-yang off as a mutated one. The clerk doesn't buy it and glances at a silent man sitting in the corner. The bully leaves unhappy. It's 1 million less than he wanted, but still better than nothing, so he goes straight back to gambling. Right then, someone in a hoodie brushes past. That person steps up to the desk and puts down a Daljin school ID as collateral. The man in the black suit tells them to take off the hood. It clearly isn't a Daljin student, and he says the photo was heavily edited. Even so, the ID is worth 500,000 won, and he pays out after taking the interest first. 50,000 won, and she has to pay it back on time in 1 week. She hurries out, looking around nervously. Then Yanjo steps in and stops her. He asks if she got the money, and she holds up the envelope like the plan worked. As they walk, she asks why she had to be the one to do it. Yanjo says he couldn't borrow from that place himself. Back at Grandma Money Collateral, the boss in the purple hoodie plays with Jun's ID. An employee asks why he keeps lending money to shady students when they obviously can't repay it. The boss just grins. He already made money. He flicks the card into a wooden board and says not to worry. If they don't pay, he'll still get his money back. Young is tied to that board, surrounded by student ID cards. The next day at school, a scream echoes through the hall. It's President Kim. She just found out Young has been gone since yesterday. Mu only mentioned the attack because he thought Young had gone back with the girl, but her reaction proves he was wrong. Kim completely loses it. She tears out of the room to search the whole school. Mu just stares, shocked by how hard she's panicking. In another class, Kim barges in yelling Young's name and checking every locker. Kang happens to be there, but he doesn't know anything. A few minutes later, Ronnie Coleman walks in carrying the class president and orders her to sit down and stop causing trouble. Upset, she tells Mu she searched everywhere and still found nothing. He stays calm. He already knew Young wouldn't be at school. He says he lost him after the arena, not here, and Kim snaps, asking why he didn't say that earlier. Mu puts a hand-drawn map on his desk. Kim recognizes it right away. It's the one she gave Young to help the protagonist reach the arena. The protagonist points to the spot where he last saw him. Kim grabs the map and runs for the door, but Ronnie Coleman sees her and takes off after her. He catches her almost right away. She begs him to let her go this once, but he refuses and drags her back again. Mu barely notices. He's still thinking about that unfinished fight with one of Goteri's top 3. Every time he's close to ending it, something gets in the way, and he can't let it go. The problem is his body is still a mess, which annoys him. He only pushed a few muscles for a short time, but now everything hurts. Still, Mu likes the pain. It means he got to fight for real. He wants to get back in there, but first he needs another healing orb, and for that, he has to find Young. When school ends, Kim grabs MC's hand and drags him out right away. On the stairs, they run into Kang. He recognizes Kim and asks why she's in such a hurry. She says Young is missing, but Daojun cuts in, annoyed that she can't find her wallet. Kim suddenly asks if Jun is Kang's girlfriend, and both of them shut that down fast. She quickly apologizes, then begs them to help find the dragon she treats like her own pet. Mu explains that Young used to be huge but shrank down and starts adding more details, then notices everyone already walked off without listening. He pauses, feeling left out, then lets it go. He'll train and recover while the other 3 look for his assistant. Perfect outcome. Meanwhile, in the school bathroom, Yanjo is on the toilet gambling on his phone. A loud bang hits the stall door. He just slammed into it from excitement. He didn't lose. On his last try, he hit the jackpot and won what looks like a huge payout. Yanjo is thrilled. He starts dreaming about the money. He could clear his debt before the interest explodes, so he decides to cash out before he gets greedy. But when he presses the claim button, something feels wrong. He tries again and realizes it's a total scam. He can't withdraw anything. 6 days later, we cut back to Mu. Instead of helping search for Young, he's in the hall staring at Ronnie Coleman with that creepy grin, clearly looking for a fight. Meanwhile, President Kim and Daojun have spent the whole week searching. Even Kang helped when he could, but they found nothing. At last, Kim and Daojun sit down to rest. Kim apologizes for dragging Daojun into all this, especially since she's a senior, but Daojun just smiles and says it's fine. She doesn't study anyway. Even so, Kim is sick of Mu doing nothing when it's his dragon they're trying to save. Kim offers to get Daojun a drink and tells her to rest. The second Kim walks away, a shady man steps up behind Daojun holding her ID card. A few minutes later, Kim comes back with drinks and snacks, but Daojun is gone. A few days earlier, Mu acted strange around the big teacher, but he wasn't trying to start a fight. He was honestly impressed by the man's build and even poked his chest, saying he'd been training that part a lot. The teacher almost called out Mu's rude way of talking, but since it was praise for all that hard work, he let it slide. Then he casually says he's joining the teacher's training session, like permission doesn't matter. At the pawn shop, the clerk is holding Daojun's ID card. Daojun shows up and demands it back. He says they have it because she used it as collateral for a loan. Daojun is stunned and swears she was never there and never borrowed anything. Then the boss in the purple hoodie steps in, slams the desk, and demands to know why she's pretending not to remember now that it's time to pay. Knowing arguing won't help, Daojun asks how much she needs to get the card back. The clerk says 550,000 won, including 50,000 won in interest. Daojun tries to stay cool and says she'll pay soon. It isn't even that much. Then the enforcer drops her ID into a drawer and warns that she has 1 week before they come looking for her. Daojun tells them not to lose her card and storms out, slamming the door. The employee grumbles that kids are hopeless these days, and the boss takes one look at him and thinks that comment was about him. The guy instantly panics, apologizes, and swears he didn't mean the boss, and the rest of the day passes quietly. Later, that same employee closes up the office and tosses the key onto a flower pot before leaving. He mutters about taking orders from some tiny brat, then heads downstairs, not knowing Daojun is hiding upstairs and waiting for exactly this. As soon as he leaves, Daojun heads for the office to take back her ID and leave. The door is locked, but she spots the key on the flower pot, unlocks it, and slips in quietly. No way is she paying money to scammers. Right after she enters, someone else quietly comes into the building. Daojun goes straight to the desk, opens the drawer, and finds her ID card. Relieved, she tries to leave fast, but something inside a cabinet suddenly makes a loud sound. It's too dark to make out anything. Then glowing eyes and a face appear. It's Yang. He instantly starts yelling to be let out without even checking who opened it. Daojun has never seen the dragon before, and it scares her. She steps back and bumps into someone. It's Yangjo standing right behind her. She doesn't know who he is, and he looks just as startled. Then he sees she's about to scream, so he covers her mouth and tells her to stay quiet so no one notices him. A second later, he realizes she's the girl whose ID he used to borrow money. He says he's here for his own ID too and suggests they both take what they need and leave quietly. Daojun nods, finally calming down, and picks up Yang before heading out. Then she remembers his face from the missing poster Kim made. They match exactly. As she leaves, she thinks these people are horrible for locking up someone else's pet, not knowing a security camera caught everything. The next morning on the way to school, Daojun spots Kim and runs over calling her name. Kim is shocked to see her safe after she disappeared the day before and starts saying how worried she was. But Daojun just smiles, skips the story, and opens her backpack. Yang's hands pop out, then he crawls free, gasping for air. Kim rushes over and hugs him tight, saying how much she missed him. While she's holding him, Yang catches a familiar smell and rushes toward it. Mu is passing by when Yang grabs his arm. Not knowing the protagonist's MC instantly knocks him to the ground. Once he sees who it is, he doesn't apologize. He just warns him to be careful and says his whole body hurts from training. Kim runs over, furious at Mu for treating Yang like that. Back at the pawn shop, the staff realize 2 ID cards and Yang are gone. They check the camera and see Daojun sneaking in and out, then Yangjo coming after her, taking his own ID and leaving. The man in the black suit asks the boss what to do, and that sets him off. He almost hits the guy for being careless with the keys, then stops and cools himself down. Still, he's furious that 2 high schoolers broke into his office and crossed him. At school during gym class, some students start a soccer game. One kid takes a shot without noticing Mu is right in front of him. He doesn't dodge. The ball smacks him in the face and his nose starts bleeding. As soon as the ball drops, Mu rushes the bald kid who kicked it. Before the guy can react, the protagonist reaches him and punches him in the stomach. The kid drops, and the protagonist looms over him until the other students jump in to stop things from getting worse. More students pile in, and only then does the teacher notice something is wrong. MC, though, is loving it. He wonders if this is what PE is supposed to be like and calls it fun. Kim and Yang find a quiet place. She gives him her old phone so he can text or call if he needs anything. Since neither Mu nor Yang has a phone, she figures she wants him to keep it so they can stay in touch. Yang just stares at it, totally lost. Kim is about to explain how it works from the start when his eyes snap to something behind them. Lee's old bully is there, still wasting money on that dumb betting game. Yang instantly knows him as the guy who kidnapped and locked him up. He drops the phone and takes off. The bully glances up, but before he can react, Yang launches at him and bites his head as hard as he can. The guy freaks out, rips Yang off, throws him down, and runs. At the same time, Mu is with the huge teacher, who keeps trying to explain that he can't punch everyone who touches him, or training will be over for him. Then the bully crashes into the protagonist, loses his footing, and drops hard. MC looks down, grins, and goes, "Perfect. Gym class." Then he jumps on him and starts pounding him until the teacher pulls him off. Just like that, Mu's fun day is over. On the way home, Kim walks beside him. He is still wishing gym class could be like that every day, but Kim tells him real PE isn't anything like that. Then she asks why he isn't training today and whether Yang can stay with her for the rest of the day. She even invites Mu too, saying she'll teach both of them how to use a phone. Dalgan is walking with a classmate, chatting and laughing. Kang is nearby on the same road, rubbing his sore neck like he slept wrong. A little behind them, Dalgan's brother Heejun is talking on the phone with his class president. Suddenly, someone steps in front of Dalgan and calls her out. It's Yangjo. He looks beat up and demands her student ID, saying they were caught on camera and he has to return it to the people asking for it. Dalgan is shocked. She barely even knows it's him, and what he's saying makes no sense. Yangjo loses his temper and starts shouting for the ID right now, then reaches for her backpack himself. The noise finally makes Kang and Heejun look over, and the second they see this huge guy bothering Dalgan, they rush straight in. They run past Mu, who still has no idea what's happening. Meanwhile, Yangjo tries to grab Dalgan's ID, but before he can, Kang and Heejun jump in and throw punches together. Neither hit lands, because Mu suddenly steps in and blocks both of them. He isn't protecting Yangjo, he just wants the fight to himself. Kang and Heejun stop cold, stunned that the protagonist just saved Yangjo. Yangjo is confused too, then he recognizes Mu from last time, which went badly for him. He grabs Dalgan and runs, while clueless MC just watches until Dalgan screams for help. Heejun and Kang instantly take off after him. Seeing them chase, he assumes they're after the same fight, so he runs too, yelling that Yangjo should fight him first. Yangjo cuts into an alley to lose them, but they all follow and corner him. Kang recognizes it right away, the same alley where he and Mu first appeared when Dalgan was being held. Yangjo drops Dalgan off his shoulder, and she hits the ground. Then he throws down his backpack, gets ready, and tells all three to come at once. He thinks they must be the same bully hunters who ran from him before. Mu steps up and says he'll fight Yangjo alone. Heejun glares at him and snaps. He's only seen this guy a few times and doesn't even know his name. But one thing is clear, the protagonist is not taking this seriously. Fed up, Heejun demands to know why MC blocked them earlier, and whether he'll take responsibility if Dalgan gets hurt. Mu can tell he's angry, but instead of saying sorry, he just says he'll fight Heejun after he's done with Yangjo. Then a hand grabs his shoulder. It squeezes hard, and pain shoots through him. The protagonist turns and pulls away, but Yangjo grabs him again, this time with a plan. He slips a leg behind Mu and hits a fast sweep, flipping MC and slamming him to the ground. He lies there wide-eyed, surprised. While that happens, Heejun rushes in, grabs Dalgan's hand and runs again, because staying out of fights is how you survive, especially when you're protecting your sister. Yangjo sees them escape but can't stop them. Mu, meanwhile, feels mostly fine. He expected that slam to wreck him, but his training paid off. He tightened his back at the last second and barely felt the impact. He flexes his back again, releases, and pops up without using his hands. Kang asks Mu if he wants help finishing Yangjo, but the protagonist brushes him off and says he's got it. Yangjo tries to catch him off guard. He grabs MC's right arm, catches his shirt with the other hand, and slams him down again. Mu hardly feels it and thinks it's just because of training, not realizing Yongyang is under him every time, taking the hit. Then Yangjo's foot shoots toward his face. Mu hops back out of range, and his face turns serious. He thinks Yangjo just tried to hit his assistant on purpose. For once, the protagonist actually cares about Yongyang. He rushes in and throws a storm of punches, not giving Yangjo a second to breathe. All Yangjo can do. Yangjo can't believe someone that small hits so hard. Realizing he's losing control with MC pressing him, Yangjo uses his last move. He charges in to body slam Mu with his full weight, shouting, asking who Yongyang even is. His grin disappears when he realizes Yangjo is coming at him like a boulder. He plants his feet and braces for the collision, but the size difference is too much. Yangjo drives him back and throws him aside. Still, Mu lands by Kang without a scratch. Kang, who has just been watching, asks again if the protagonist wants help. The protagonist says no, hands Yongyang over to him, and acts confident even though he has no real answer for a guy that big. Then he gets an idea. Go for the weak spots. Even a rock has places that can break. So Mu dashes to Yangjo's blind side points. Yangjo turns, but Mu is already on the other side, drilling 2 more into the front of his thighs. The blows nearly drop Yangjo, and he has to throw out his hands to steady himself. Knowing he can't keep up if MC keeps moving like that, Yangjo tries a trick. He points past him and yells that this is one-on-one. 2 against 1 isn't fair. Mu actually turns to tell Kang to stay out of it, only to see Kang hasn't moved at all since taking Yongyang. Before the protagonist can realize it was a fake, Yangjo flashes behind him and locks in a rear choke. Mu knows too late and can't break free. Kang watches, unsure, then sees MC's face changing color as he struggles and starts toward them. He tries to speak, but Yangjo is crushing his throat. With only a few steps left, Mu forces out one shout. "Don't help!" Kang stops. He still isn't sure the protagonist's fine, but then he sees that same grin, and MC tells him never to help him. Even so, Mu is in real danger. The choke is cutting blood off to his brain, and he knows he could pass out at any moment. Still, he has a plan. He suddenly bulks up his neck muscles, then Mu slips both hands into that space between his neck and Yangjo's arms, then counters. He squeezes with all his strength. Yangjo can't handle the pain, and Mu tears free. That only makes Yangzhou madder, which also makes him easier to read, especially now that he's already worn down. The protagonist can tell Yangzhou is almost done. He looks like one clean hit in the right place will finish him, and Mu clenches his fist. A few days earlier, MC had been training with the huge teacher. The teacher told him form matters most and showed him heavy squats, lifting the bar and going up and down while talking about how good they are for the legs. Mu studied the teacher's leg muscles and how he moved. After the set and a short break, the teacher saw he walk over to try it himself. He was shocked and asked if the protagonist was serious, especially with that much weight. But Mu lifted the bar off the rack and stepped out. Even though his face stayed calm, his legs shook and bent outward. Realizing MC really meant to squat it, the teacher tried to stop him, but he ignored him. He wasn't being dumb, he just had another way. Mu had insane control over muscles, more than Master can really explain. He could move his body however he wanted and use a technique that let him strengthen any muscle group he needed. He could even shift muscle fibers where he wanted. With that, he can do things normal people never could, like smash something the size of the Egyptian pyramids with one punch. He hasn't used that trick in a long time, but right now, it's his best option. Back then, right in front of the teacher, Mu moved muscle from his arms into his legs and started squatting faster than the teacher. Now he shifts fibers from his left arm into his right, swelling that arm up. Kang watches and asks if he's okay, but Mu only glances at him and remembers the move Kang used during their first fight in class. He copies that technique and throws a heavy punch into Yangzhou's middle, choosing power over speed. Yangzhou throws both arms up to block, but the punch tears right through his guard and knocks him out, like smashing a huge boulder to pieces. Mu stands over him, pleased he dropped someone that big, then realizes he won. Like he did with the others, he rips off part of Yangzhou's ear and marks him as neutered. Later, Heejun and Daljun head home. Heejun asks if she knows why that guy keeps targeting her. Daljun says sorry for pulling him into this again, then explains everything, starting with the day he saved her from those thugs and how she dropped her wallet while running. Her student ID somehow ended up at a pawn shop and got tied to a 550,000 won debt under her name. No matter what she said, the owners refused to believe she didn't borrow the money. She goes on about how she got her ID back and then ran into Yangzhou while escaping. After hearing the whole story, Heejun is furious and calls the class president. Even mad, he stays polite and says he won't make it to today's meeting. At the pawn shop, the boss and his worker are talking when the door bursts open and Heejun charges inside. The boss turns, annoyed, but Heejun drops him with a punch and keeps beating on him while the man in the black suit watches in shock, secretly cheering because his jerk boss is finally getting hit back. Even so, he grabs the phone and calls for help. Two huge men rush in to stop Heejun and take him down. Heejun doesn't flinch. He's usually calm, but the dark side tied to the demon he hates starts rising, and he doesn't realize it yet. Still, that blood is inside him. The door they had shut to hide the noise is now busted open after one of the big guys gets hurled through it. Heejun takes out everyone and barely gets a scratch. Then he demands to know why they were pressuring his sister for cash when she never borrowed anything. The guy in the purple hoodie warns him not to mess with them, but Heejun isn't backing down. He says if they touch Daljun again, he'll come back and make them pay, then leaves. After he goes, the boss swears Heejun will regret this. Later, Kang walks with Mu, who's still pumped from beating Yangzhou. Kang keeps staring, then asks how the protagonist made one arm swell up like that. The protagonist smiles and shows him how he moves muscle from one arm to the other. Kang tries to copy him and obviously can't. Mu says he still hasn't learned how to talk to his muscles. Each one is different, so he has to feel them one at a time. Then he explains more. If you understand each muscle and make them work together, you can get them to obey and control them however you want. That only confuses Kang more, and he keeps trying. Then Yang asks why MC is giving away his secret moves. MC shrugs. If Kang gets stronger, things get more fun, and harder fights will help him grow faster. Besides, he has to get strong enough to face Lucifer. Yang reminds him the earth barrier around his land was strong, so Lucifer couldn't break in anyway. Mu still believes Lucifer will find a way, and he wants to be ready. From now on, he says, it's all training. Then the boy in the purple hoodie gets called in by the real boss, his uncle. The kid says everything had been going well and starts bragging about his loan scam and how it worked. His uncle flashes his gold teeth and says the boy's getting too mouthy. Was he scared he wouldn't inherit the business? Every business has rough patches, but the uncle is still disappointed. He couldn't even control one small pawn shop with guards assigned to him. Still, he lets his nephew leave for now. On another floor, the three pawn shop men Heejun beat get stripped and beaten by the boss's crew for losing to one high schooler. He hits the blonde guy and orders him to open his mouth, then drops in a blue pill. Not that kind. The blonde man gets dragged off and warned not to spit it out, or he'll die. Back with the boss, he takes his nephew down in the elevator and explains that the kid's business idea wasn't bad. The problem was his targets were poor students. The uncle steps out when the elevator opens, and an underground arena appears, packed with hundreds waiting for the next fight. The purple hoodie kid just stares, stunned. while the CEO uncle says real money comes from big matches. A fighter walks in, and the uncle tells him to watch carefully. The man's body looks strange, with purple veins crawling over him, and the nephew realizes it's the blonde worker, the same guy from his pawn shop, the one forced to swallow that blue pill. Both fighters step into the arena, grabs his opponent's arm and swings. The other man tries to block, but the blow tears through it and breaks his bones instantly. He screams, but before he can respond, another punch from the other side crushes his face. The blonde man is thrilled by the power and can hardly believe it's really his. From the VIP seats, the CEO and his nephew watch the one-sided slaughter. The CEO pulls out another blue pill and says one of these lets him choose who wins any fight, then hands it over. The kid just stares at it, thinking how easily he could beat Mu with it. At the gym, the protagonist pushes through his training and finishes with squats. He racks the weight and steps back, his body now much bigger, veins popping. It looks like he's been lifting for years. He says the set felt amazing. His whole body is buzzing. His teacher just stares, stunned, and says he's seen lots of gym addicts, but never anyone bulk up that fast. He starts to wonder if Mu's using something. MC says he's weak, but the teacher cuts him off and starts warning him about drugs. He only stops when he repeats, "I said I'm weak." He is still nowhere near strong enough to fight Lucifer. Now bigger than ever, Mu walks around with Yongyang beside him, carrying Kim's what Kim taught him, answers it, presses it to the protagonist's ear, and tells him to take the call. Kim starts shouting, asking where he is and why Yongyang hasn't been seen since last week. MC doesn't explain much. He only says he came to check how well his training worked. Then, back in the same alley where that annoying little girl beat him, the two girls are there again, happy about money from 8 fighters and stream donations, not knowing Mu already found them. He calls out, they turn, and he grins. Long time no see. Chungo jumps up and says she must not have hit him hard enough before, then charges. The protagonist doesn't move. He lets her come close, and just like last time, she leaps in and drives her knee into his chest. She thinks that did it, but when she lands, Mu only slides back a step, his hands still in his pockets. Yongyang asks if he's okay, and MC gives his usual grin. He's fine. This time he didn't make the old mistake. He had already braced and tightened that spot. Before he lacked the muscle to tank it, but not now, so the knee barely hurt. After taking that first hit, he gets serious. He charges with Yongyang on his head. With his new strength, he closes in fast and starts throwing punches. Mu knows the difference now. He's the bigger one this time. Unlike Yangzhou, she doesn't get a moment to breathe. He slams a hard kick into her side and feels it connect, his grin growing wider. But she catches his foot in midair, and now she's mad. Not just from the hit, but because he's acting like she's weak for being smaller. She drives an elbow straight into his knee, aiming for the worst spot. Even then, he doesn't fall, and it's clear he's changed since their last fight, so she quits holding back. She rushes in and slams an elbow into his jaw, follows with an upward elbow to another point on the jaw, then spins and hammers his side with a third elbow, putting everything into it. All of it lands clean, but Mu is still standing. Her confidence shakes when she sees that same creepy smile. He takes the chance and grabs her by the collar, just like Yangzhou did to him, then slams her down. Mu dives in to crush her face, but she slips away at the last second. Then the protagonist shifts most of his power. But that wasn't all. Right before impact, he changed it, moving force from his legs to his upper body and smashing into her with a body slam. She flies back and only stops when she crashes into the tall girl, who catches her. Worried about her friend, who ranks above Yangzhou, the tall girl jumps in. She rushes Mu and starts firing those long kicks again. MC blocks them and decides to force his way through. He lunges forward and throws a full power punch straight at her face, but the smaller girl cuts in at the last moment and smashes an elbow into his face, nearly tearing it open. Then both girls attack together with kicks and punches, driving Mu back while he tries to stand his ground. Even so, he can tell the training helped. A few days ago, he wouldn't have lasted against both of them. But to really turn this around, he needs something new. He looks at Yangzhou and says he found a way to extend his reach. So he grabs Yangzhou by the tail, swings him around, and charges in, yelling that now it's 2-on-2. The girls' Mu rushes them with Yangzhou as a weapon, smacking both girls with the lizard. He tries to swing again, but the short girl steps in and knocks Yangzhou from his hand. Then they trade kicks and punches while Mu fires back. He catches Yangzhou again out of the air and keeps going. The short girl knows a weapon leaves you open up close. The arm holding it becomes useless, so she rushes in and lands an uppercut. Yangzhou flies from Mu's grip, lands on the tall girl, and even hits her with a dragon kick. Meanwhile, he had tightened his neck, so the uppercut barely worked, and he answers with a headbutt. The short girl drops almost instantly. Yangzhou is still hanging on to the tall girl, but she rips him off, throws him, and lands a heavy kick to Mu's side. For a second it looks solid, but it does nothing. He had tightened his core. The protagonist grabs her foot and slams his elbow into her knee, the same way the short girl did to him earlier. She screams and throws another kick with her other leg. Mu catches that one too, spins her around, and even though he likes striking more than holds, he uses one for old time's sake. He twists both her legs up behind his neck, leaving her unable to defend herself. Mu uses the ancient Egyptian joint lock. She screams that her legs are about to break and surrenders. Then she begs him to stop. She gives up, and Mu lets her go and steps in to tag her, but she slips free, nails him with a kick, and hops back. MC wonders if she's still trying to fight. While she reaches into the short girl's pocket, Mu charges in, but she flings all their cash in his face like a smokescreen, and the two of them disappear. He's left irritated that he couldn't mark her, so he picks up her hat and decides he'll do it next time. The tall girl carries the short girl away, telling her to wake up, but she's completely out. Then it cuts to Young Joe, furious that the bully hunters ruined his plans. He vows to kill them and kicks a rock. It rolls to someone's feet. If the guy's some kind of bird. The guy introduces himself as Guak Dajon from Chuku High and asks who's been beating Young Joe up. That tone annoys him, but Guak just says his mouth still works, and he can take a few more hits. Young Joe isn't moved. Guak already got crushed by the short girl, so he grabs his shirt. Guak hesitates, then bites down on a blue pill and starts laughing, which makes Young Joe even madder. Guak's veins swell up, and Young Joe swings, saying he'll knock out every tooth he has. A moment later, Young Joe is down, slumped by a wall and badly beaten. The next day, the girls are walking around complaining about giving Mu all their money and losing the hat. Then Guak appears. The short girl asks what he wants, and Guak just takes another blue pill. His body changes again. Veins bulge all over him, and even his eyes start glowing. Grinning, he says their luck just ran out. Something in Guak's chest starts glowing, spreading that strange power through his body, and his whole attitude shifts. He turns more violent and says after Young Joe, he'll crush them too, and Goteri will be done. He'll be the only top dog left. Then he rushes them. He goes right for the short girl. She barely dodges, but he keeps on her. The tall girl jumps in with a kick to his face, and the short girl follows with an elbow. Both of them feel a shock of pain, like they just hit solid steel, and Guak doesn't even react. He grabs the tall girl's leg and punches it, making the bone crack. She drops screaming. The short girl keeps attacking, but Guak barely budges. Then he grabs her head. She looks up and asks what he did to his body, and he slams her into the ground, knocking her out. Looking down at both of them, he laughs. So this is Goteri level? Pathetic. Then he walks off, happy he finally got to say the line he'd practiced back when they were stronger than him. Later, he reports to his boss and says the pill is crazy. At this rate, he doesn't think anyone can beat him. His boss asks if he's still going to keep his promise. Guak says yes. Bring whoever you want. Then he asks why the boss doesn't just take the pill too, and the boss goes quiet. A few days earlier, the CEO uncle explained the pills. The bigger the boost, the worse the side effects. Your personality turns violent, and if you overdo it, people can literally explode. Back in the present, the boss makes up some excuse about herbal medicine. Guak asks what that has to do with anything, but the boss insists it does, and they leave. Mu then shows up with those huge calves, trying to figure out which school the girls go to. He wants a rematch. The next day at their school, Mu talks with Kim. She tells him the girls are from Whistle High and draws him a map. In return, she gets to hang on to Yang for a while, which makes her really happy. But when the protagonist asks her to draw another one, she calls him a boomer and tells him to use his phone. Mu heads out with Yang, and Yang acts like his GPS, guiding him there. Once he arrives, MC spots the tall girl. She notices him too and sees the hat he brought back. Then she takes him to the infirmary, to the other girl's room. It's strange seeing them let him in after they were trying to kill each other yesterday. She explains that the short girl got destroyed by some psycho who attacked them. She reported him to the police, and he hasn't shown up at school since. His name is Guak Dajon. Then someone groans behind the curtain. They turn. Mu pulls it open, and it's Young Joe, beaten even worse than last time he saw him. He curses Guak Dajon and passes out, and a nurse shouts that the patient is going into shock. When Young Joe wakes up, he still doesn't like Mu, but he talks. He says Guak took some weird drug and became insanely strong. He used to be the weakest Goteri, and now he's the strongest guy Young Joe has ever fought. The protagonist listens, clearly excited that someone beat Young Joe that badly, and asks where to find him. The girl says nobody knows, not even the police, so Mu decides to hunt him down himself. Back at school, MC is carrying boxes while the Hulk teacher tells him to make this a real habit, but his mind is somewhere else, stuck on Guak. Meanwhile, Guak walks by behind him, talking on the phone with someone telling him to be careful and stop telling the whole world he's using drugs. Guak says it's already too late, heads upstairs, and goes to the classroom he's been looking for. Heejun is just sitting there when Guak recognizes him from the photo his boss gave him, pops a pill, storms in, and tells him he's dying today. Then he lifts a desk with the student still sitting in it and throws it at Heejun. Heejun slips away and the desk flies out the window. Nobody knows who this lunatic is, and the students start yelling that they're calling a teacher. Heejun is wondering the same thing when Guak rushes him and smashes his left arm, slamming him into the lockers. The next punch sinks into the metal. If that had landed, it would have been bad. Heejun says this counts as self-defense and gets ready. He drives a punch into Guak's gut and follows with more hits. Guak pauses and looks like the attacks might actually be working, then laughs and says they just tickle. So Heejun uppercuts him and calls him a psycho. Guak takes it on the chin and says that one hurt a little. Then he grabs Heejun's hand and squeezes, crushing it. Heejun twists in pain while the class watches. Kang and Daljin are there too. Daljin realizes it's her brother fighting and actually throws her slippers at Guak, like that'll help. Guak turns to her, and she yells at him to let Heejun go. Guak says he can't, then swings at her. Kang steps in, blocks it, and asks what he thinks he's doing, while Heejun tries to break free by jamming his elbow into Guak's forearm. Guak lets go, and Heejun snaps that touching his sister crossed the line. Then he and Kang rush Guak together. The Hulk teacher hears there's a fight in the third-year classroom and immediately runs over. That gets Moo's attention. There's no way he's missing a fight. He drops the packaging and heads over. Inside his bag, Yongyang suddenly locks in, saying he can feel his magic radar going off. Back in the classroom, Kang and Heejun team up on Guak. Guak turns to Kang first, trying to take him out, but Kang dodges everything. Guak is just throwing raw power around and that only frustrates him more, so he tries grabbing Kang instead. Then Heejun nails him from behind with a kick to the inside of his leg, and Guak drops to one knee. He looks back, and Kang jams 2 fingers into his eyes, telling him to pay attention. No matter how strong you are, there's always a weak spot, Heejun says, and they keep pressing him. Guak gets fed up, realizes he's losing, and breaks away. Then he spots someone and sprints for the door. The students think he's after them, but he stops in front of his dealer and begs for one more pill. The bald guy asks why he's exposing him in front of everyone. Guak keeps pleading for one more, swearing he'll catch Heejun like he was told to. The bald guy gets mad that Guak just sold him out, and Heejun recognizes him as the same creep who tried to scam his sister. Catching Heejun's glare, the bald guy shoves a pill into Guak's mouth and tells him not to screw this up. Guak says no problem. Heejun steps up and warns them not to ignore him. If they keep messing with him, he can't promise what happens next. He says he already warned them at the pawn shop, but before he can finish, he gets blasted back, shocking Kang. Heejun slams into the wall, and then Kang gets thrown too. The mutant powers up into a full purple monster. Daljin worries about her brother and tries to reach him, but Guak reaches for her. Then the buff teacher grabs his hand and says lifting weights doesn't mean he gets to hit his students, and now it's time for a lesson. The teacher tries to stop him by force, but Guak squeezes back and breaks his fingers. The teacher runs out yelling for the police, and Moo walks in. Yongyang tells the protagonist that's the mutant guy. He can feel mana pouring off him. The bald guy spots Yongyang, his collateral, and lunges to grab him. Instead, he steps on Daljin's slipper, slips, and face plants. Moo grabs his shiny head and drops an elbow on him, but that still isn't enough. The bald guy, cursing, yells for Guak to take Moo down. Guak says okay and swings. MC just stands there waiting for the first hit to make it official. Not the smartest move, but right before it lands, Guak's power-up runs out. Yongyang had already drained his mana into a tiny orb. Now that the fight is on, Moo beats Guak down while Yongyang watches. Yongyang says the mana feels familiar. Guak is laid out, and he complains he was too weak to be any fun. Then he tells Yongyang to put the mana back. Yongyang does, but warns him this isn't normal mana. Moo asks what it is, and Yongyang says it's so pure and powerful that it can only come straight from a god. There's no mana on Earth otherwise. The protagonist figures it's been forever since he had his last mana, so some other god must be interfering with Earth. Moo asks if it's his, and Yongyang shyly admits it is. Then the big purple brute gets back up, glaring at them like he's ready for more. About 1,000 years ago, in the Divine Realm, Moo fought the Cyclops god. The giant Cyclops was annoyed that MC kept trying to fight him. He threw his weapon hard enough to shatter the ground, but it suddenly cracked apart, and he was standing under it completely fine. Then Moo threw one punch and erased both the Cyclops and his weapon at once. The Cyclops returned to his normal form and told the protagonist to stop bothering him. The protagonist said he would if the Cyclops gave him a real fight, then left unsatisfied, saying he'd be back. Trying to cheer him up, Yongyang came up with a brilliant idea. Yongyang brought down a huge rock from Earth. He crushed it into powder with magic, then spat out a weird liquid, mixed it in, pressed it down harder, and sealed it with magic to finish the job. At the end, he added the strongest part. He told Moo to give enemies just a tiny bit before a fight, because it was insanely concentrated. He even showed him the right dose. Moo grabbed the whole thing anyway. Of course he did, then ran back to the Cyclops. Yongyang could only worry, and almost right away, MC got blasted back with a huge grin. He loved it. The Cyclops was way stronger, and the two fought all across his land. Even so, he won. The Cyclops dropped toward the dough, and the magic stone flew at the tiny Earth but couldn't get through, since only that world's god could affect it. It bounced off Yongyang's nose and fell down to Earth. That's how the magic dough got here. Back in class, Mu tells Yang he did great. Then the giant swings, but the protagonist dodges and packs more power into his left arm, slamming the mutant back. Even Mu admits the guy's tough. His fist hurts. The mutant keeps attacking, then brings both fists down, shaking the whole school like an earthquake. The students lose their balance as the building shakes. His footing, so the mutant grabs his shoulder and drives him into the door, ripping his clothes. Yang calls out, asking if he's alright. Instead, Mu asks how long the mutant has left. Yang checks the mana. About 5 minutes. Just 5. Yang says to stall him and he'll get weaker, but Mu's worried about one thing. After 5 minutes, he won't get to fight him anymore. So MC says he'll end it in 5. Elsewhere, the uncle works in his basement with Yang's magic stone dough. He chips off a piece with a hammer, saying that's enough for now. Mu tears off his shirt and prepares. He knows if he trades hits head-on, his body will break, but if he matches the monster at one point, he can win. Over time, his muscles got so big they slowed him down, so he learned how to keep the strength without losing speed, a method that makes the muscles denser while shrinking their size. In his god form, he could compress them 150,000 times. Here, he does it once, powering up one spot without slowing down or bulking up too much. Yang warns him a punch is coming. Mu barely avoids it, shrinks one arm and boosts his right arm even more. He compresses it a second time. Then the monster grabs him and hurls him into the wall. Mu slams hard into it but doesn't quit. He pushes off and compresses his right arm a third time. The monster charges, and they start trading punches. Their fists collide, and the impact is so huge the windows blow out. The monster pulls back, hand throbbing, shocked that Mu can match him. They clash again, and he starts taking control. The same force hits harder when it's focused on a smaller point. That's Mu's trick. The monster claims they're even, but the protagonist says no, he's winning. As the 5 minutes almost run out, Mu drives a punch into the monster's core and blasts him through the wall. The creature crashes into the ground outside. The police and the teacher who called them watch it land at their feet. The monster shrinks back, and people start yelling for an ambulance. Back inside, Mu looks at the hole he made, then spots the bald guy trying once more to grab Yang. The bald guy can't believe Mu beat that monster. He yanks Yang and says that was the weakest one. Next time he'll bring someone stronger to take MC's head. Yang drops down, acting like he's fine, and says if he had mana, that clown would be finished. Then he looks at him, who drops to one knee, looking worn out. But really, Mu is excited now that he knows there's someone stronger. He tells Yang to spit out the healing orb they saved, because he's ready for the next fight. Meanwhile, the uncle grinds more magic stone into powder and makes more pills. His bald idiot nephew rushes in asking for more. The uncle asks how he used them up so fast, and the nephew says each monster needs at least 3. The last one only had 2 and still got beaten. The uncle freezes. He can hardly believe it. Bodies hitting the floor outside, brace themselves, and the door slowly opens. Mu is there, looking for the next opponent. The uncle asks how he got in with guards outside. Mu says he already took care of them and asks where the stronger